What is going on here? Thinks Magnus Carlsen. Gukesh D, that's D for demolition job, going to work on Aydin Suleymanli's king here. We're rewinding round 5 of the olympiad before India went out celebrating, and what we see here is failure to appreciate how good this guy is. Gukesh kicks off with pawn to e4, playing the India board number 1, e5 in response, starts very boring, bishop c4, a Gucci Reza piano, but who's the music man today? It's Gukesh D. We get knight f6. Is he going to go for knight g5, bring the crescendo straight off the bat? No, he goes d3, a little bit calmer. If you want that immediate crescendo, get onto O Fortuna, Karloff, what a piece of music. Thank me later. Bishop c5 now played. You can go c3, castles, main moves, or knight c3 if you want to set up the massive 8-piece Jenga tower on the c file, but none of them played. We see bishop g5, love these lines. Gukesh does it with a small whoosh, whispers it in his modest, humble voice. Aiden taps the table like they do in snooker in appreciation. We see h6 putting the question, the bishop drops back, maintaining the pin. Aiden hates it. He's like, get out my camp, bro. Goes g5 for the high 5, knocks this one back, and I love these positions. So fascinating. This bishop's in jail, but black's pushed p, made some weaknesses, light squares, but got a dark squared grip. Who's going to win? No idea. The better player probably. We see the c pawn advancing, looking for some expansion, but a5 now comes. b4, Gukesh can push p there. He does that stop on it, gives the bishop some room. Knight bd2, covers e4. You know, you don't want to go d4 too soon with e4 weak. Plus an exchange could leave your king open to checks. So now the bishop drops back to a7. Prophylactic chess. That means to guard against before something happens. Karpov was a master of it. And now, as of move 10, we get a brand new position with pawn to a3. A la Agadmator, as he would say. And here, Aiden, so freaked out, almost falls out his chair like this grandmaster at the World Blitz one year. Doesn't quite happen. He stays on his feet, but he's so shook he makes a mistake. He should go bishop d7, simple move, or queen e7. You can even castle, but not played. He goes knight h5, is simply an opening blunder. Rare to see someone this good around 2650 doing such moves. Gukesh pounces on it. Do feel free to pause if you want to test your tactical finesse here. The move to play that Gukesh finds is knight takes on e5. Brilliant c. Now what's the point? Well, if the pawn captures, okay, you have just gone to a square, which you shouldn't be allowed, and then the queen streams out, you win back your piece, you're a pawn ahead with a great position. So that's why we don't see that played. We see this one chucked in. Now what are you doing? Because if you capture this one here, like this, now we take back and you're simply a minor piece ahead. So recapturing immediately, impossible. Gukesh finds the best follow-up move, but it's not, in case you were wondering, this going for the queen. Looks good because you're on the queen, surely a more powerful threat, but no. Black's got this, crash bang wallop coming through on f2, really classic themes. You have to take, only legal move because of the knight here, shutting off squares, and now this is the point, you take with check, then recapture, and you're an exchange ahead when the dust clears. So we come back, you can't do that one of takes here, this is the move to play. Gukesh smashes through to the king here. Absolutely love it. The knight covers this, so the king has only got 2 legal moves, goes to f8, and now this is the follow-up point. Taking the bishop now, the top engine move, according to Fishstock, but not played here. King g7 selected, a kind of weird triangulation thing, trying to get in Gukesh's head. Just kidding, I don't know what it's all about. But now f-pawn recaptures, f-file open. Now we see takes on f7, okay, losing tempos, fine. Now we see takes with check, queen recaptures, and this is the moment. The GOAT himself Magnus wanders over to the board to have a look at what's going on. His burrow fraud. What is going on here? Very wild position early in the game. How's this one come about? d4 now played to blunt the bishop, prepare to castle the king, and so what does black do? Well, fianchetto the king, obviously. When in doubt, no dark squared bishop, you've got a fianchetto on that side of the board. Well, it's stuck in jail over here. King e7 preferred by the Silicon Overlord, but fine. You can play h4 here, peel things open, but Gukesh takes the steady approach. Gets his king out of dodge, brings the rook into the game, bishop d7 very natural, king h1, more prophylactic chess. Take note of what these super GMs do, just pausing for a cup of tea and biscuits, keeping that one safe. And now I don't like this move, rook f8. Yes, I'm influenced by the engine analysis, saying it's not so great, but I do get it. You know, you've only got one of those bad boys. Try and keep it on the board maybe, make things a bit weird. Gukesh has got the centre after all, and this is why, although black's got the two minors for the rook, which is usually good, in this particular position, exposed king, centre under siege, you can't do anything to fight against it properly. So queen e2 played, connects the rooks. These ones exchanged, rook recaptures, and look at Franken queen. Excuse me, back from the dead here. Now we see queen f3 looking for some invasion, queen e7 covering the square, and knight c4. Excellent rotation. Something absolutely beautiful about a knight on c4. Love when they hit that square. I mean, this is really some beautifully stinky cheese from Gukesh here. Watch how he continues. Bishop e6 now played, and he's just going for tricks at this stage, Aiden. Because if d5 not played, this is the tricky dicky point. Now if captures, you take back like this, you're on the rook, it saves itself, whoops, like this. Now we see takes on c6. You can see some of the terrible lines I was clicking down earlier, hanging an entire rook. And actually black's doing well here. The bishop's opened up, the character changed, the pawn weak, etc. So that's why no d5. Instead we see knight to e3. This knight finally starts to rotate. This one comes with check here. Of course you have to take. Mum and dad are in a bind. How to recapture here? There's a best way and then a worse way. Very bad sentence. The best way is actually taking with the pawn. Sets up these new threats and just ties down so many black pieces. So the queen blockades the pawn. Now we get rook e1. Not the most precise, but let's ignore the engine on the left for a minute here. Let's go with human chess. I love how Gukesh plays the position now. c5 immediately available, but bishop b6 started with. Okay, kind of a minor activation. Now we see g4, cement, and now c5 comes. Not appreciated by the Stockness monster, but okay, you've got to go for something to mix it up. Gukesh goes d5, keeping this one in a horrible prison. Oh, how the tables have turned from the white one on g3, and look at the structure. An iron curtain has descended on the black position. c4 now played, desperate to liberate that bishop. Does weaken the pawn though, targeted immediately. Bishop c5 in response, b5 on the way, and this is really classy. Separates the top guys, right? This one not captured, the most natural move in the world. Look at Stockfish poop its pants. Knight f7 is the response. You land this monster knight on e5, tempo coming against the rook. Obviously you can save it, but then there's this, let's say this, and suddenly black is fighting back. You can target, you can go for a dark squared grip. Okay, white better, but different game. That one not done. Instead, a4, what a move. Stops b5, and now if knight f7, what's the response? Okay, rook e6. This is the key detail. This is where chess is a game of fine margins. So because the knight has to stay glued to that square, we see bishop a7. Aiden is just thrashing, moribund, the death knell soon to toll. We see queen e2 preparing the rook invasion, hitting the pawn, and now a randomizer. What to do? You know, you can thrash back with bishop c5, but h5 played to try and mix things up. The check is landed, king f8, another check, and now king g7, far and away the best move. King f7 played, the queen still covers the knight, no worries, but it allows Gukesh with the king on f7 to now take on h5 and start running this pawn. Now the point is, if the queen captures here, not only can you take this one, actually maybe you can't, then there's this and you get mated, ignore what I just said, but more importantly, you can actually deliver a checkmate. This pawn takes the square. If the king was on g7, could run here, right? This is the key difference. So the pawn on f5 can't be touched by the queen. So now we see g4 setting a little trap, right? But Gukesh too good. Take my pawn, I take your rook, lovely jubbly, very scrummy. So instead we see this pawn marching to h6, and again it's immune or you land the checkmate. This one's still covering the king's flight square here. So instead we see the queen now gobble this one, but can you do that? Can you really get away with it? Well, yes, you're not getting mated. There is this flight path now. Not the best way to play. We're in the back cave, analysis mode. But Gukesh, too good, right? Already at the age of 18, doesn't go for that line. He just carries on pushing this h-pawn. But okay, this is very simple tactics for guys of this level. You're preparing to make a queen, supported by the rook. Unstoppable, unless you capture. But then you're wandering into this one. Getting the king and queen slammed, you can recapture immediately, but hey, if there's a good move, look for a better one, as they say, and you can do something like this and it's mate in 5, right? Game over, of course. So that's the way it would have gone if the queen captures. Instead we see the check flicked in from b1. Oh no, he's not getting branked, is he? Fear not. The queen slides back, supported by the rook here. This is why it could never leave earlier when I was going down that very bad line. What to do? The queens leave the board. You can't go queen c2 or something or take a pawn. This one's going through, baby girl on the way. So this was played, rook recaptures, and here we see resignation. Brutal game. If king g7, then you can make the knight, bishop, rook, take your pick, this the most natural, and after captures, then you slam down here, check, win a piece, and this is just a technical win. I mean, the engine says do this or whatever, but how natural does this look? Let's say, yes, you lose d5, but you get something like this, and it's just a hopelessly lost game. These can run in a moment, that kind of thing, plus you've got an outside passer you can create here. Anyway, that was the final position here. Gukesh, what a player. Exciting world champs to come against Ding Liren. Smash subscribe if you never want to miss a recap, and check out the video on screen for another epic game of chess. Cheers.